On Wednesday, April 19th, at shortly after 9 a.m., in the 100 block of Lois Lane, which is directly behind 193 South Calumet Road here in Chesterton, we received a call of a vehicle parked against a dumpster with a female occupant slumped over the wheel. That person was later identified as Nicole Gland, a 24-year-old female with an address in Portage, Indiana. Upon initial arrival, officers observed that there was some traumatic injuries and violent injuries to the body of Nicole Gland. Detectives, investigators were summoned to the scene, and everybody quickly responded, including the Porter County coroner. The crime scene and surrounding areas were processed and searched, and the victim was eventually released to the custody of the Porter County coroner, who later completed an autopsy, the results of which he is partially released and probably is available to most of you already. As stated, the victim was identified as Nicole Gland. She's employed as a bartender at the Upper Deck Lounge here in Chesterton, and she was working on the evening prior to this incident. Information obtained through the investigation indicated that Nicole left the bar at approximately 2:51 a.m. on April 19th. Her vehicle was later observed in its final resting point at 3:45 a.m. by a passerby. Through the investigation, a primary suspect was identified as Christopher M. Dillard, male white, 50 years of age, with an address of Hobart, Indiana. Mr. Dillard, at the time of this incident, was an employee at the Upper Deck Lounge, employed as a bouncer, or he referred to himself as a doorman, but he was not working at the time of the incident. Late in the afternoon of Wednesday, April 19th, the Chesterton Police Department received a tip from the Hobart Police Department leading us to Christopher Dillard. The information contained in that was that Christopher Dillard's significant other saw the information, whether it would be in news or social media release, and found some items missing from the residence, which led her to believe that Mr. Dillard might be a person of interest for us. Mr. Dillard was found by Hobart Police Department and detained for questioning for us. Upon his arrival, as well as that of his vehicle at the Chesterton Police Department, we commenced to interview him. Mr. Dillard admitted to being at the Upper Deck Lounge at 11:30 p.m. on April 18th. The purpose of his visit was to drop off a prearranged delivery of controlled substances to Nicole Gland, and he admitted to being in her car in order to place those items for her. He additionally stayed inside of her vehicle for a short period of time in order to consume a personal quantity of controlled substances. Upon doing that, he stated that he left the vehicle in an unlocked condition and eventually made his way to another establishment in Chesterton. After that, he left for parts and whereabouts not necessarily known or not disclosed, because by Mr. Dillard's own admission, either he didn't know, didn't remember, or didn't want to disclose simply because the events were hazy from a self-induced drug binge, which he described as rough partying. After extensive interviewing, it was determined through a variety of investigative information that probable cause existed to charge Christopher Dillard with the murder of Nicole Gland, and he is presently being held in the Porter County Jail, no bond. This investigation has progressed very rapidly, as do all investigations similar in this nature. As it has been previously reported, this is the first homicide in the town of Chesterton in 3 years. The investigation to this point would not have been possible without the invaluable assistance of the numerous assisting agencies, the various member agencies of the Northwest Indiana Major Crimes Task Force, the Porter County Prosecutor's Office, and numerous agencies and entities too numerous to list individually. Prior to my departure, we are going to leave several copies of materials here in the front. You may help yourself to them. What's included in that packet is a photograph of Christopher Dillard, as well as my contact information. If you are not able but would like a digital copy of his picture, please email a request to me, and I will get to it as soon as I can. Also up front, you will see a copy, or you can get a copy of the probable cause affidavit that's been filed in regards to this case. Please understand, just because somebody has been charged with this murder, this investigation and this case is ongoing and continuous. It is far from over. I will in a moment entertain some questions, but I thank you in advance for understanding that not all questions will be able to be answered at this time due to the nature of the investigation. I will ask that if there is anybody out there in Chesterton or other places that may have witnessed information, may have witnessed anything, or have information that may be pertinent to this case, to please call the Chesterton Police Department at 219-926-1136 and ask to speak to a detective. Once again, I want to profusely thank the various agencies and entities involved that have assisted with this investigation, and especially those member agencies of the Northwest Indiana Major Crimes Task Force. At this point, I will entertain potential questions.
What do you believe was the motive for this crime?
At this time, we do not know. That is still under investigation.
Chief, are you looking for any other suspects in this case?
At this time, our job is into this case is obviously still under investigation. We are still looking into other persons of interest. We do believe, obviously, that we have enough probable cause to charge a singular person with this crime.
But do you believe there's a possibility other people were involved?
At the present time, that's still under investigation.
Had your suspect been fired from this bar, or was he about to be fired?
I can't vouch to whether or not he might have been fired, but he was gainfully employed there at the time of this incident.
Was there a relationship between Ms. Gland and Mr. Dillard?
We have no information indicating that at this time. That is still under investigation.
What makes you so confident that you can recommend that he be charged with first degree?
Due to the various information contained in the probable cause affidavit, which I'll provide you a copy of here after we get done.
Can you give us a summary, because it's hard to read that.
How about I read it to you verbatim? On Wednesday, April 19th, 2017, at approximately 9:10 a.m., our department received a call from an employee of the Chesterton Tribune, located on Calumet Avenue, of a woman slumped over the wheel of a vehicle next to a dumpster behind the business. This employee checked the female and found her to have no pulse, and then called 911. Officers arrived and found a young white female in a silver 2009 Ford Escape slumped over the wheel, leaning towards the center console of the vehicle, with evident trauma wounds to the back of her neck, and readily apparent to be stab or puncture wounds with blood down her back. She was cold to the touch. EMS arrived on scene and found her to be deceased. Officers of the Chesterton Police Department on scene called for additional units, including myself and other detectives, who responded to the area of 100 block of Lois Lane, which is directly behind the businesses of the Chesterton Tribune and Upper Deck Lounge. The car was in park with the ignition off, but the keys to the vehicle were not located, and no purse or cell phone were located in the car. The victim is later identified as Nicole Gland, who worked as a bartender at the Upper Deck Lounge and who worked the prior evening, leaving the business at approximately 2:51 a.m. An investigation ensued, and I ultimately received a call from the Hobart Police Department indicating that the department had taken a report a couple of days prior from Beverly Gall regarding unauthorized control of her vehicle. In that report, Beverly reported that her live-in boyfriend, common law husband of 18 years, Christopher M. Dillard, had taken her vehicle, a 1997 black Ford Ranger, without her permission. On Wednesday, April 19, 2017, upon learning of the news article involving the woman found outside the Upper Deck Lounge, Beverly Gall called the Hobart Police back, indicating that Dillard was an employee of the Upper Deck Lounge, and she recently noticed one knife missing from her butcher block. An officer was sent to the residence of Beverly Gall to interview her, and she apprised us of the report she made regarding her truck being taken and not being returned home. At that time, Detective Nick Brown took into custody the butcher block of Beverly Gall and any remaining knives. Mr. Dillard was located at a business in Hobart by the Hobart Police Department, and Dillard was in possession of the 1997 black Ford Ranger owned by Beverly Gall. The truck was impounded, and Dillard was brought back to the Chesterton Police Department. At that time, I began an interview with Dillard as to his whereabouts on the evening of April 18th and the early morning hours of the 19th. He indicated that he had been partying rough for the last 2 days. He responded to the Upper Deck Lounge, where he works as a bouncer at 11:30 p.m. on April 18, 2017, not to work, but for the purpose of delivering cocaine and marijuana to Nicole Gland, based upon a previously arranged plan. He stated that he entered the bar and retrieved the key to her vehicle, and went outside to place the drugs underneath the driver's front seat. He then indicated that he was sitting in the passenger seat, and he snorted a line of cocaine using a compact disc from her vehicle to place the cocaine on, and used either a razor blade or his driver's license to cut a line of cocaine. From other interviews in this investigation, it is learned that Nicole Gland never locked her vehicle, as one of the locks is broken and not functioning. Dillard continued that after snorting the line of cocaine, he got out of the vehicle, shut the door, did not lock the car, but returned the vehicle key to Nicole in the bar. He then left the Upper Deck Lounge and reportedly went to another bar in Chesterton, and it is unclear how long he remained there. He believed that he was there for a couple of hours, but not late enough for last call. He then went to an undisclosed location in Portage, intending to receive a supply of drugs for his personal use or sale. He indicated that he didn't purchase drugs, but was fronted the drugs for payment at a later date. He would not provide his supplier's name nor give us a location other than a location on US 20 in Portage near McDonald's, indicating that the supplier was a bad person. He indicated that upon returning to his truck from the drug deal, he found a small amount of cash and cell phone that he had left in the vehicle stolen. Later in that interview, when asked, Dillard stated he isn't certain whether he lost or how he lost the cell phone, nor how much cash was stolen. He then began to answer questions, stating things were hazy, or I don't know, or I don't remember. It was determined that around 6:53 a.m., Dillard placed a phone call from a casino boat in Gary to Beverly Gall, telling her, direct quote, "I really fucked up. I don't know you'll take me back," unquote, end quote. From this point, Dillard didn't know where he was, as everything was hazy. The last destination he recalled being at was sleeping in a lakefront park in Hobart, Indiana. In my interview with Dillard, he indicated that he took one knife from the butcher block approximately 2 months ago and stated that he needed it for protection, but kept it stored in the floor of his driver's side of his truck. It was learned that the vehicle belongs to Beverly Gall and is driven by Beverly, not Dillard. When asked what happened to the knife, Dillard said he didn't know, but the knife fell out of the truck at some point, indicating it could have been today or it could have been a week ago. When confronted about consistencies with his answers, Dillard would either respond, "I don't know," or ask, "What did I tell you last time?" When pressed for answers, he would indicate that things were hazy from partying rough. Dillard stated to me that he changed his clothes sometime during the daylight hours of April 19th after leaving the casino. However, he would not articulate why he changed his clothes. Prior to changing clothes, he reported that he was wearing blue jeans, one long-sleeve pullover shirt, or another long-sleeve pullover shirt, socks, and shoes. He stated the clothes were left in the garage in the residence he shared with Beverly in Hobart. Officers were sent to that residence but did not locate any clothing in the garage. During my interview, he indicated the clothing he had on is the clothing he had changed into, which is basketball-type athletic shorts. Instead of blue jeans, he was wearing the same socks and sandals, but had removed the outer long-sleeve pullover shirt. On April 20th, 2017, while still at the Chesterton Police Department, Christopher Dillard requested and was allowed to meet with Beverly Gall in a recorded interview room. Dillard told Gall that, "I killed that girl. I didn't mean to." He indicated to her that the drugs had a hold of him. The remaining conversation centered around whether Beverly would wait for him and to stay by his side. At one point, he asked him to marry her and then laughed. He also told her that he owed a drug dealer $400 for some cocaine that was in a cigarette pack inside the 1997 black Ford Ranger that he had been driving. Upon leaving the interview room, I re-entered the interview room with Dillard and asked him to confirm with me that he had requested to speak to me again after speaking with Beverly. I asked him what he wanted to talk to me about, and he stated that he wanted to confess. Upon presenting him with the waiver of rights form as required, he was asked if he could think about it, but ultimately decided that not speaking to me any further was in his best interests. At that time, the interview was concluded, and shortly thereafter, he was taken into custody for that crime.
She probably trusted this guy to open the door for him and do whatever, and he just brutally murdered her. It's not
Were you
fair.
surprised
It's not,
that-
yeah, I mean, I don't even know. You know, a bouncer's supposed to protect you. A doorman is to protect that bartender from anything like that, and for that person to work with her and be around her and help her clean to leave the bar, and then one night wants to be on drugs and act like an idiot and kill our best friend. That's just not.
Did you know? I feel like it kind of portrayed her as a bad person, and she's not a bad person at all. She definitely wasn't a druggie or anything like that, and you know, she was just a great person, and she didn't deserve this.
What did she want to do with her life?
I really don't know. You know.
Do you feel like she was being victimized twice by this news conference?
Kind of. I kind of feel like it kind of portrayed her in the wrong way, but it's how the media works. You know?
The police have said that.
Right, but I don't know. Kind of, yeah, in a way. Yeah.
What do you want to see happen here?
I just want to see justice served. I hope he gets what he deserves. You know, karma is what it is, and you know, I don't know. I really just don't even know what to say right now.